When it comes to like the threat of force that different groups could enact in the United States, like, I mean, you guys say this all the fucking time. Like, the right wing is the ones that have guns, and the left wing is a bunch of, pink-haired, non-binary, they, them army. Like, they're not going to pick up arms and fucking fight against the government, right? I was a socialist for a long time, all right? I know these people. They talk about revolution, but they're incapable of it. Whereas the people on the right, not only are there people on the right that do talk about revolution and rising against the government, but they also have like teeth to them, because they actually will, be able to handle the recoil from a 12 gauge, right? So like, in terms of that, just in terms of the possible force that could be enacted, probably the right wing does pose a bigger threat than the left wing. But I'm not saying that we should do it in a partisan way. I think that if people are going to be weird anti-American freaks that want to, fuck up our country and talk about revolution, the FBI should be looking at both of them.
Well, you're one of the few lefties I've interacted with that concedes that the left has no hope in a civil war unless they had the U.S. military on their side. So,
well, yeah, I was about to say the left is
props
broad.
To acknowledging that.
Yeah, the left is broad. Don't say lefty. All right, when people say lefty, I think socialist. All right, the left, in terms of like Democrats in the United States, yeah, we probably have the institutional power that the government and the in the military would probably side with, like, preserving the government if there was some sort of, uprising. So like, I'm never really concerned about some sort of civil war situation, but I'm also not concerned about a civil war situation because I don't think we're actually even close to there. So
why do you think that? Why do you think we're not there?
I have a lot of conservative friends. I talk to a lot of conservative people online. I mean, the one thing that I'm focusing on in life right now is trying to finish my fucking degree after changing my, my major 7 times, trying to finish a degree finally, and it's political science. And I can kind of see and understand polling a lot better than I could 2, 3, 4 years ago. And like, I don't think that people really have the appetite for a civil war. We're not nearly at that point. We're the most divided that we've ever been since the actual Civil War, but that was even way more significantly divided than we are right now. It's a different problem with different solutions, but I think that conditions for the average person would have to be so significantly worse on average for anyone to even consider, risking doing some sort of revolutionary action and risk death, imprisonment, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's just not how humans operate.
You do realize that some of the metrics for societal revolution have already been, that they're already in the rear view, right? Do you know that?
I don't know. Like, is there like a standardized list of, well, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen, or is it just like
has to, but there are markers that have been consistently documented through history. So here's a few of them.
Sure.
Price of basic living needs compared to income, the sexual availability of mating opportunities for young men, the general economic outlook of the country, the integrity of the social fabric of the country, and then there's some other more ancillary ones that I'm less familiar with the argumentation around, but those are the big ones. And we passed the basic needs as a proportion of income. We passed that during COVID, like early on in COVID, when you started seeing the stories about people taking out loans to buy groceries. Yeah, like we passed the, oh shit, countries usually have a civil war around this economic time during COVID. The lack of mating opportunities for young men. Yeah, we've been dealing with that one for at least a decade now, and the incel army isn't getting any more satiated than it was a year ago, let me tell you. And we've been talking about the decay of the social fabric this whole time. Uh, you might be learning a lot about political science, but I would encourage you to spend a little bit more time digging into the history of revolutions and what makes populations say guillotine time.
Well, that's actually like
usually about the bread.
That's my personal autistic hyperfixation, actually. The thing that if I were to go into like getting a master's, I would probably study authoritarianism and I mean, again, as a socialist, I was trying to really do praxis, and I was reading theory. I read socialist theory. I've read fascist theory. I've read liberal theory from like early on. So like, I mean, I understand these things. Like, I wouldn't disagree with the different markers that you talked about, like the economy, social factors, the prices relative to income, fucking. All these things. I mean, I don't really know much about like fucking, because when I like in all the knowledge I have about like, you know, the Nazi takeover of Germany, the socialist revolution or the communist revolution in Russia, in China, literally nothing that I've ever read said anything about the lack of mating opportunities. I'll take your word for it. Like, I can imagine like a bunch of repressed, poor, you know, young dudes haven't got their rocks off in a long time. Maybe they get angry. But like in terms of the other things, like when we look at revolutions that happened in the past, like prices as opposed to income, like the most talked about like revolutions or like authoritarian takeovers in history, it was cataclysmic compared to anything that the U.S. has ever seen, right? Like even the Great Depression was not nearly what Nazi Germany, fascist Italy, or the Soviet Union, or I say Soviet Tsarist Russia before the Soviet Revolution happened.
In terms of the economics.
Yeah, like saying. that was like so like the inflation was so bad in the Weimar Republic.
Yeah, wheelbarrows of money for a loaf of bread. I know.
Making it was cheaper to put the money up as wallpaper than it was to buy wallpaper, right? So like we're not nearly at that point in terms of the
we're
price.
Not quite there yet, no.
I mean, we're not. We would have to have like 100% inflation for like a year and a half straight to get anywhere close to that. And we haven't seen that. Now, has inflation impacted the average American? Absolutely. It has impacted them negatively. I think that there's a little bit of hyperbole about like how much that has impacted people. But like, yeah, I'm not going to like sit here and say that, oh no, it's just like super fine that we had that bad of inflation, right? General economy and economic outlook. I mean, all things considered, there are a couple of weak parts of our economy, like the housing market and oh shit, there's like two big ones right now. It's the housing and I can't remember what the other weak part of our economy is. But like in general, our economy is actually running super hot and has been running hot since the end of COVID. I mean, even before Biden took over. Yeah, hope to see you again. Please subscribe if you haven't. I usually stream a whole bunch, or I say a whole bunch, 2-3 times a week. I'm going to be gone all next week because I'm going to be out of state. But after that, we're going to hit the ground running because I'm going to be unemployed and ready to move. And then I'm going to be unemployed in DC and streaming a bunch. All right. So subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you later.